Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Quick Review. Today we are talking about a once Switch exclusive, now on most platforms except PlayStation, JRPG by Square Enix, Octopath Traveler. Now, most of the time when I say Square Enix JRPG, my thing is either I love it, like Final Fantasy VII, 6, Kingdom Hearts, Dragon Quest 11, and all of those, or I hate it, like Marvel's Avengers or uh, Final Fantasy 13-3, Lightning Returns. This is another game. This is a game that I have differing opinions from the majority of people. I was very disappointed with my time with Octopath Traveler. And I think a lot of it has to do with the characters and the story. None of it really interested me. I felt myself playing the game and it feeling like a chore to get done. I got about 20 hours into the game, and throughout those 20 hours, I felt like it was a chore to play a video game, and that's not what I want in my video games. If I'm 20 hours in, then and I'm not having fun, then I'm going to stop playing a video game, and that's just what I did. I dropped Octopath Traveler. And yeah, maybe it's unfair because I didn't experience the rest of the game, but I just was not having fun with it. I thought the characters were all good in their own right, but that's the thing. It's in their own right. They're good on their own, but somehow the dialogue between each other is horrible. Horrible. In my experience with what I've played, there isn't any. I get it because that's story reasons, and depending on who you go with first, dialogue may vary, and that's effort. But would it kill them to put in dialogue between characters every once in a while? Because outside of when you meet the characters for the first time, there isn't any, and it's just that character's story, or at least that first stories, their chapter 1s or chapter 2s, and then you move on to the next, and you keep doing that, and it just wasn't fun. It felt repetitive, and it's so hard to talk about this game because a lot of it does have to do with the fact that when I started this game, I was definitely high on Final Fantasy VI, because that quickly became one of my favorite games of all time. And going from that to this, like just a day later, wasn't the greatest idea. But even still, if I hadn't done that just a day later, if I had come back a week later, I still probably would have been in the same position, I feel like. Because, like, don't get me wrong, the combat's good. I really enjoy the combat. The combat's a lot of fun. But you can't have a good combat system but not have a good, decent story, or a story that isn't interesting, because it's just not a good balance. Like, I enjoyed being more in the combat than I did the story. That's not usually the case when I play a Final Fantasy, a Dragon Quest, Xenoblade, except Xenoblade 2. I really enjoy the story more. Actually, no, that's not the case for Xenoblade, so I enjoy the story more than the combat, but that's besides the point. I really enjoy the story. I think stories are amazing. I myself am a very creative person. I love writing. I'm a writer. That's what I want to. That's one of the things I really want to do. Like, as a job, I love to write. And Octopath Traveler just didn't do it for me. I go watch TV shows and movies and play video games, and I like to think I have a good opinion and good taste on good writing and bad writing and different lines of dialogue, or where a story can go, or how stories, how the sequencing of stories work. And Octopath Traveler just wasn't it. It just bored me. And all the characters, when they're not in their own story, they bore me because they're virtually non-existent. And yes, I understand why people enjoyed this game. I understand why people love this game. Personally, it wasn't for me. So to end off this quick review, I want to say, would I play it again? Yeah, maybe later in life if I ever decide I want to revisit it again. But no, not right now, because you have an issue when you are seriously thinking about reinstalling Final Fantasy 13 over Octopath Traveler. Not to say Final Fantasy 13 is a bad game, it ain't great. And yeah, I wouldn't recommend it to anybody who wants to see their characters interact and have lines that make laugh or cry or very upset or very happy, because that's just not this game. That's not what this game is. But if you don't want to see that, I'd recommend it. I'd recommend it to a lot of people outside that, because I think a lot of people can enjoy this. I understand why a lot of people enjoyed it, and I think if you enjoyed it, that's good. Just personally, it wasn't for me, and I was very frustrated while playing like 20 hours of this game. So yeah, that's the quick review of Octopath Traveler. See ya.